Okay, so we ended the last lesson looking at... Okay, so we ended the last video looking at formatting cells, and I've still got the lesson open. What I want to do is go File, Save, then File, Close. Once it's closed, I then want to go to File, and I want to find the times table square that we were looking at before. Open that up, and if you remember, that's where we got to with our grid system. And what we're going to do is we're going to use, first of all, the autofill to simply fill some numbers in here. So I'm just going to put 1 and then go there and right click, pull that down to there, and simply tell it to fill series. I'm going to do the same thing there. 1, click away, click back, bottom right hand corner, hold down the right hand mouse button, pull across, let go of the mouse button, click on fill series. I've got those there. I'm then going to center these nicely and bold them and increase the font simply by using that button until I get a nice font size. I can see that's font size 16. I'm going to do the same thing here. Select all those, center, center, bold, and then increase it to size 16, so I've got that nice balance there. So we've got a nice look there. Now we want to separate these numbers, which we're going to use to do calculations, from these ones here that we're going to do the calculations with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those again. I'm going to do the bucket fill, and I'm going to choose a shade of something. There you go, a yellow. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to choose a different shade just to show I can. And I've got that there. So we've got the beginnings of our times table square. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this cell here to start to do the calculation. And this is the times table square. And you might remember these from school. And all we're going to do is multiply this one by this one. So it's simply enough equals this cell, I've used my mouse to click, multiplied by, remember that's shift 8, this cell here, and press enter. Now we can see that the numbers down the bottom, so I'm going to select all of these because we're going to use all of them, and I'm going to tell it to be centered. I'm not going to bold, but I am going to take up to 16 so that these stand out. Now what we're going to do is do the fill series. So all we're going to do is grab that bottom right hand corner and drag downwards. Now we can see the hash marks, and as I said before, those hash marks aren't an error as such. It's saying the numbers are too great for that particular cell. And if we look, that seems to work. 1 times 1 is 1 and 1 times 2 is 2. But as soon as we get to the 3, we've got the 1 times 3 is 6. So let's have a look at what's happening. We're doing this, we can see the blue boundary, B3 times C2. And if we go down to this cell, we can see that though the result looks correct, it's multiplying the wrong thing. We're multiplying correctly by this cell, but instead of multiplying by C2, it's moved down to C3 due to that relative addressing problem. So what's changed? And this is the hardest part with working this part out. Identifying what is changed and what you need to lock, what you need to make absolute. So we're at C2, but we've gone to C3. So we can see that the 3 has changed. The 2 has changed to a 3. So if we now go back to the original, there's the C2, the 2 changed to a 3, so we need to put a dollar in front of that. Remember, I could press F4, I've just typed it. It doesn't make much difference. Now if I drag that down and fill series all the way down, it's correct. 1 times 10 is 10, and if we look, it's locked into that cell but allowed this one to move. So you should only use absolute addressing to absolutely lock in what you want. Don't lock in things you don't need to lock, just to see how that goes. Okay, now What else can we do? Well, now let's drag this way. Now again, we've got the same error, because this time we've got the B3 times C and locked 2, but let's see what's happening here. The B3 has become C3, so the B has changed to the C, and that's happened all the way through, and we can see that we've got an error there. So we need to go back to the original, and in this case look at the B for the first reference and lock that in place with the dollar. We've now got two locked absolute references. Absolutely column B, but row 3, that can change. Column C can change, but absolutely row 2. How does that help us? Well, now what I can do is I can pull that formula down. Remember, I've got one formula here. In fact, what I'm going to do, just to show you, I'm going to delete all of the existing formulae. And what I'm going to do is go to that one, and I'm going to drag it down, just as we did before. We know this works. Unless that $B has broken it, that should work, and it still does. There's no reason for that to have not worked, because the B3 has worked. Now if we'd locked the 3, that would have broken it, but we haven't. It's still looking at column B, and that's perfectly fine. But what I'm now going to do is, rather than go back up to the top and pull across, I'm simply going to grab the handle down here at the bottom and drag across. So I've only actually had to drag down, and then I can do all cells. There are 100 cells here. 2 drags will create 100 cells, and I've now got a times table square that works. And the cool thing about this is we've only used one formula. We have only used one set of calculations, set it up correctly, and that has successfully completed all of these for us. So we now have our times table square. Our times table square is in place. There's things we'd like to do to sort out this times table square, make it a little bit easier to work with, and we're going to reconstruct it in a way just to get certain colors sorted and lay it out better. But that's for the next revision exercise, not for now. So see you in the next video.